Okay, so to answer why it's hard to control our mind, well, something happened to me yesterday, I think it was, and it got me thinking about how we create stories out of little snippets of information, and it was regarding the coronavirus outbreak and the spread of that particular virus around, coming from China and coming to various countries in Europe. And I'd heard a snippet about some people not accepting being held in quarantine, and I'd heard it probably earlier on in the day. There was no specific names or anything like that, and then a little bit later on there was a conversation, a news bulletin about an individual that had been thought to have spread it to about 30 known cases, and I think they called him a super spreader or something like that. And I was aware of my emotional reaction to that, of being quite negative towards this person, and I hadn't got any particular information about the individual, just that he'd been responsible for infecting 30 people in various countries during his travel arrangements. And I was aware of my mind filling in those gaps. So I got some information about people not wanting to be held in quarantine, and I'd heard about this individual that was responsible for spreading it to 30 people, and kind of started to fill in the blanks between those two bits of facts, and got quite a negative emotion towards the individual, because I started to think, well, is he one of the individuals that was refusing to be quarantined? And if so, what a selfish act, not really giving any consideration to his fellow passengers and being responsible for spreading it around to 30 other people, and then obviously they would possibly spread it to another 30 people and so on. And I caught myself thinking about that and getting quite annoyed about it, and having certain negative emotions towards that individual. And when I thought about it, when I allowed my conscious mind to come in and question that emotional reaction, I realised just how powerful the creative part of our brains are, how we can fill in those missing details and create something out of nothing, really. And the part of our brain that does that is the instinctive mind. That's directly connected to creative imagination, the part of us that creates stories, makes things up basically. And that's what I caught myself having an inclination to do. I was aware enough of it to stop that in its tracks, but it's typical of how our brain works. We have an emotional reaction to the thoughts that we have, that are largely based on, we get little pockets of information, but we fill in the gaps and make a story out of it that makes sense, that fits in with other bits of information that we've had, but is basically made up. And the problem with the instinctive mind is it's directly connected to the nervous system. So we have a thought and we have a reaction to that thought through our nervous system. So we get angry, get sad, get annoyed, get frustrated, whatever the emotional reaction is that comes from the thought. Those two things are linked directly, and it's quite a powerful reaction. It's quite a powerful tool that we can use to great effect, but if we don't get control of it, it uses us. And the way around it is to use our conscious thinking mind. Now, the conscious thinking mind is the little bit of us that's just is aware of what's going on, is aware of our reaction, and just says, oh, hold on a minute, let's just think about that. What is the actual facts that we've kind of got here? We've been told one bit of information, but we don't know that first bit of the information is directly linked to the second bit of information. There could be completely different stories. The gentleman could have been on his travels with no symptoms whatsoever and spread this virus around unknowingly and been genuinely sorry that he'd been responsible for spreading it, without him really knowing what was going on. And I was here making judgments and not really thinking about even giving him any consideration for thinking, I hope he's okay. My first reaction was to think, well, what a selfish bloke that he's spreading this around, because he wouldn't be quarantined. But that's just completely made up, isn't it? I don't know. And I haven't even gone on to look at the story of it and looked at its little snippets of bulletins on the news that have been going on in the background while I've been doing other things. And I've suddenly created this story out of nothing. But it's typical of how a lot of people, anyway, and certainly how my mind reacted to that little bit of information. We do fill in the gaps. It's the same when we watch movies, isn't it? We get little breadcrumbs of information and try and fill in the gap and see if we're right. And we do it all the time in every aspect of our lives. And with it happening, I thought I'd just make a note and I'd discuss it today, just to bring it to your awareness. And I think it would be quite a good thing to do, is just be a little bit more aware of what snippets of information that we hear, and then how we create something that's much bigger that fills those gaps in, and how accurate that actually is. Now, it might be that he was somebody that refused to be quarantined. I don't know. What I might do is go and try and find out a little bit more information about it now, and just see what the facts were, and whether that first impression and that reaction that I had was in fact accurate. And I'm guessing it's not. I'm guessing it's miles off the mark. I'm sure he didn't spread anything on purpose, was completely innocent in it. But it does give you an insight into what's going on in your mind in the background, doesn't it? Do you react to that situation with more compassion and think, oh, I hope the gentleman's okay? Or do you do what I did and be very judgmental and think, well, what was he doing? Why is he not in quarantine? Why is he allowing himself to spread this virus to other people? But he might have done it in all innocence and not even had the symptoms at the time that he was spreading it. I don't know. And that's a fact that I've built a story around it. I've reacted to it. I've got an opinion about it built on absolutely nothing. I've no evidence to back up what I was feeling, and yet I still took it in and would have reacted to it if I wasn't a little bit more mindful. So just try and watch over the next couple of days and try and catch yourself and see if you do a similar kind of thing. And it'd be quite interesting to put into the comments if it does happen to you and what the circumstances were of that particular event. And I think you'll find that it happens much more frequently than you were originally aware of. And I think the first thing to be is bring awareness into it. As I've done, I've questioned it, I've looked at it, and I've realised what I'm doing. And I've been trying to be more mindful over the last few years, so it is something that I catch myself doing all the time. But even after a couple of years of practicing this kind of thing, my imagination and my instinctive mind still does it. It still is something that you have to keep on top of. You don't master it and then it goes away. It's constantly trying to create something out of nothing, and it's our self-preservation instinct that's at work here. And I'll go into that in more detail in other videos, but just for a day or two at least, just catch yourself doing these things and just watch how your mind does create something out of nothing. And and the instinctive mind is creative, but it is linked to your emotions, it is linked to your nervous system, and it can, if unchecked, it can really cause big problems. You could suffer from a lot of negative emotions over relatively little fact-based evidence. So just kind of watch yourself over the next few days and put it in the comments what happens to you, and I'll probably do another video on this later on in the week, just to follow it up and just see what people have said, and see just how common it is. Okay, thank you.